Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're watching this and what time you're watching this. Uh, it is January 19th, 2023. Okay, I am going to read one of my favorite books. I decided that that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to read This Present Darkness. Frank E. Peretti. I love this book. Okay. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over the present darkness, against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Ephesians 6:12. It's the ESV version. Okay, forward. People often ask me, which of your books is your favorite? Of course, well, add the ones that I've read. Of course, as any parent who speak of his children, I reply that I prize all of my books, and it's hard to pick a favorite. Each book is unique, reflecting a particular time in my life, a stage of growth, something I was learning, pondering, and experiencing. You can almost trace Frank Peretti's spiritual journey by reading his books. But having said all that, I can tell you that This Present Darkness holds a special place in my heart because it was my very first novel, written during a time of dark discouragement and bitter struggle. I was in my mid-30s. I'd pursued many dreams with no enduring success, and now I was frustrated, burnt out, former minister working in a ski factory with only one dream left, to be a writer. When Crossway Books called me to say they would publish my book, that was probably the pivotal moment of my life. What inspired this book? Nothing in particular, and a lot of things in general. 25 years ago, the tripping of the 60s was maturing into the neo paganism of the late 70s, and demons and their doctrines were gaining a weird, glassy eyed respect from the popular culture. Star Wars was a smash hit movie that dazzled with us sights, sounds, and spectacle from other worlds. Superman and Indiana Jones were reviving the mystique and appeal of the superhero. Somewhere in all this mix of spirit and spectacle, I envisioned a story that would convey the dangers and workings of warfare in the spiritual realm. I envisioned a movie of the mind, a fiery winged flight through dimensions never dreamed of, blade to blade encounters with the ugliness of spiritual evil and the triumphs, the blazing white light of God's holy angels, slingshot to victory by the prayers of struggling saints. For 5 years, I dreamed, fantasized, and played pretend on paper, on and off, frequently abandoning, always returning to the project, the vision, the one thing I just had to finish before I died, published or not. 17 years ago, 3 years after it was finished, This Present Darkness was in print. After a slow start, it leaped suddenly from store shelf obscurity and front counter celebrity and stayed on the bestseller list for nearly 10 years, breaking publishing barriers and records alike. Of all the books I have written, This Present Darkness has been the most popular. Of all the topics I've addressed in my book, spiritual warfare seems to be the one topic with which I will always be identified, probably to my grave. Today, 15 years after the publishing of the sequel, Piercing the Darkness, I don't talk much about spiritual warfare. I've moved on to learn and write about other topics as God leads me. But that's the nice thing about books. Even though the author has moved on to other things, the books remain. This Present Darkness is still speaking in the same message to new generations in many countries, in many languages. God is still using my feeble effort from years ago to open eyes, change hearts, and save souls. Do I find that satisfying, fulfilling, and awe inspiring? Oh, yes. And from the days in the factory until now, I have never been able to comprehend the vastness of God's prayer and purpose. I can only stand in wonder and give thanks for what He has done. Frank E. Peretti, May 19th, 2003. Okay, so that's all for this video. Thank you for watching.